We're here today to talk about an issue that we've heard a lot about the past couple of months, unfortunately. We're all familiar, everyone here, members of the media, certainly my colleagues are familiar with the priority that the New York State Senate Democrats, the New York State Assembly Democrats, Governor Hochul, they have shown a real priority for criminals, for the rights of criminals. They are very concerned about the benefits of criminals. They're very concerned about making it easier for people to be out of jail who have committed crimes, whether it's cashless bail, less is more, discovery, elder parole, pension benefits for those in jail. There's a host of both laws and bills that are focused on the criminal element in New York. And all of that, of course, is under the guise of criminal justice reform. And I say the guise because there's criminal justice reform and there's overturning the criminal justice system. There's a recentering on the criminal versus the citizen, the law-abiding individual, and even more specifically, on those who we ask to protect us. All of that culminated a couple months ago when we lost 3 police officers killed in the line of duty, 2 in Syracuse, 1, of course, in the city of New York. New York PD Officer Diller and Syracuse police officers Michael Jensen and Onondaga County Sheriff's Lieutenant Michael Husak. All were killed in the line of duty, and all were rightly recognized. Their lives were eulogized, even here in the New York State Capitol, even by my Democratic colleagues. And yet, just a few, a month and a half after those tragic deaths, which all occurred within a couple of weeks, we have 2 individuals who are coming up for parole. Mitchell Martin, who killed an off-duty police officer, James Whittington, in Brooklyn in October 1982, when the officer jumped in to help a woman being attacked. He is serving a 25-year-to-life sentence. And Eddie Matos, who in '89 threw Officer Anthony Dwyer down a 25-foot air shaft while holding a McDonald's at gunpoint. 2 individuals that we would know, rightfully so, as cop killers, coming up for parole in front of a parole board that has shown a willingness, in fact, an eagerness to parole cop killers. All of this against the backdrop of lawlessness that we have seen, again, a focus on protecting criminals at the expense of law enforcement, making law enforcement's job more difficult. And of course, just the other night, we had someone who was in this country illegally, who was also subject of another criminal investigation, a robbery, who had an illegal firearm. Imagine that. This gentleman wasn't a citizen, crossed our border, got to New York, and somehow obtained a firearm faster than a law-abiding person could obtain a carry permit in the state of New York. And he used that firearm to shoot 2 police officers. So we can, and it goes for us too, only the difference is the people behind me, Mike Sapercone, Will Barkley, Senator Wyke, Senator Borrello, my entire conference, the Assembly Republican Conference, we have stood ready and continue to stand ready with legislation to actually change this paradigm. Legislation to make it as safe as we can for our law enforcement, as safe as we can for New Yorkers. I don't believe that New Yorkers, by and large, of all political stripes, support this kind of thinking, support these policies. I don't think they wake up every day and think, you know what, the biggest pressing issue, we need to do more for those who have raped, robbed, stolen, assaulted, defrauded. And yet, that continues to be the fixation for many of my colleagues across the aisle. And we are here today to call on the parole board. I would even say to maybe shame the parole board into not paroling these cop killers. What message does that send to the families? And not just those families, the families of Officer Whittington, the families of Officer Dwyer. That's bad enough. What about all the families of the officers who are here today and the families of the officers across the state of New York, the families of Officer Jensen and Husak, the families of Officer Diller? What is the message that that sends to them? That we have a parole board, that we have a state that is eager to release cop killers back on the street. What is that message? So obviously our message is that these individuals should remain in jail until they die, until they're dead. I don't think that you get, just because you're older doesn't make you any less of a cop killer. There are certain crimes that stand out. Just because you're older doesn't make you less of a rapist or a murderer or a pedophile. There are certain crimes that we as a society say, you know what, I don't care if you're 90 years old or you're 25. If that's what you did, then that's what you are. And I don't shy away or back away from saying that. And I think most New Yorkers would concur. So we're here today to ask members of the parole board to not only think about the individuals who killed police officers who've been in jail, but think about those families who every day, forever their lives have been changed. Kids growing up without a father, wives growing up without their husband, parents growing up without their sons, in this case. And what message are we sending to the other families of law enforcement, to the families of those cops, those police officers who were recently laid to rest? Our words can't ring hollow, and they will if these cop killers are released back on the street, as others have previously been.